Okay, I think that's doing its thing. We do have a Q&A tab at the bottom of the screen. And so if you have any questions, you can just leave them in there, and then I will get to them at the end of our session. So just makes it a little bit easier. And I'll also be monitoring our YouTube chat. So if we get any questions on there, I will again be answering those at the end of our session. But hello, everybody. My name is PJ. I am the assistant director for strategic communications and recruitment here at the KIC. I just started at a full-time position fairly recently, about 6 weeks ago, but I did work in the KIC as a graduate student. And now I work here as a full-time staff. So I've kind of been in the office for a bit. But yeah, so today we're going to be talking about how to submit your I-20 request, first of all. And then we're going to transition into the visa prep session and all that entails with, prepping for your visa. We'll go over some practice questions together that will hopefully help prepare you for your interview. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now, and then all right. Hopefully you guys can see my screen okay. So once you're admitted to our university, the first thing you're going to want to do is set up your MAV mail. Your MAV mail is going to be where you get all of your emails. That's the email you use as a student here at Minnesota State Mankato, but you are going to need to activate your MAV mail before you can get into your KIC portal to submit your I-20 request. If you run into issues setting up your MAV mail, because it can be a little bit of a complicated process because it is a multi-factor authentication, so you need to have like two-step verification, and sometimes you can run into issues setting things up, or there might just be some difficulties. In situations like that, we highly recommend that you reach out to IT solutions on campus, as they will be the best contact in terms of getting you access to your MAV mail, because again, those are more nitty-gritty IT issues that we don't deal with. But usually, generally, if there are any issues with that sort or the multi-factor authentication, we always ask students to reach out to IT, as they will be the best point of contact. So if you are already admitted and you're not able to get into MAV mail, please reach out to them. They're pretty good about getting back and resolving your issue fairly quickly. So just know that you're in good hands in terms of getting the support that you need. However, once you're able to set up your MAV mail, you should receive an invitation to our KIC portal. When you click on that invitation link in your email, it's going to bring you to this little website here. The KIC International portal is a one-stop shop for almost everything that you're going to need as a student here to succeed. And so once you're here on campus as a student, you'll have an opportunity to kind of submit more requests that are more relevant to what you're doing at the time. But right now, we're just going to talk about the I-20 request, which I can understand that it can be a little confusing at times. So I thought we could go through it together, and just I'll kind of point out the important little sections. This is all important, but there are like some areas where I'm like, oh, just make sure you do this. So we can go ahead and do that. This is for Stomper. Stomper is our mascot here at Minnesota State University Mankato. And so this is his account. But here is our front page. So here it will say initially that this is the I-20 request link, and to read to the bottom for instructions. So if I were you, I would go through this very thoroughly to make sure I don't miss any key information. As you're scrolling down, you'll see a welcome video, because we're very excited to have you here on campus, and we're very happy that you chose to apply to our university. And so there's a quick welcome video with JC Fry, who's our director, and I would watch it. She's really awesome. So as you're looking at this front page, you'll notice that there's some deadlines here. Now, if you're coming here for the spring semester, please remember that, and if you're applying outside of the US, you need to submit your I-20 request by October 1st. So these are dates that you really need to make sure that you are paying very close attention to. We have been fairly good about with the turnaround with your I-20 requests. Most students have been getting their I-20 requests within like 7 business days. However, if you have submitted your I-20 request already and you still haven't, it's been like over 2 weeks and you still haven't gotten your I-20, please make sure you check your mav mail to see if you got any emails from us asking for additional information. Sometimes we notice that when students have not checked their emails because have not gotten their I-20s because they haven't checked their emails because we asked for clarifying information. However, this portal is so easy to navigate and it's just so user friendly. But here we were on tab number 1, we're going to go to tab number 2, and so on and so forth. This here shows you what the I-20 looks like. So on the left of the screen, you can see what the I-20 will look like when you receive it and what the I-20 basically is. It has a little bit of a descriptor. Again, you will have to have your I-20 before you go to your visa interview. So you're going to want to make sure you're submitting the request on time. As you navigate this little section here, you'll come down to this little spot and then it'll ask you to select one of the 3. So are you outside the US and need a form I-20? Are you already in the US? Or you're on a different visa? More likely than not, your situation for you is you're probably going to want to select the first option, or you're probably going to select the first option. So after you do this, you're going to want to upload a color photo or scan of your passport ID page. So you can do it on your phone, obviously. It'll be a little bit trickier if you're doing it with your phone. However, you can still do this on your phone, or you can upload a photo of your or a scan of your passport ID page. We want to make sure that it's in color, and you also want to make sure that all of your information is legible for us. Once you've selected that here, and then you've uploaded your photo of your passport, you can move on to the third. This is one of the things that I really like about our portal is because it's telling me that I cannot continue because I didn't submit some documentations that I needed to submit. So this is going to be very helpful if you forget a little step, then this will prompt you and this will not let you submit your I-20 request until you've submitted and cleared all requirements, which is awesome. Because we're just kind of testing this out right now, I'm just going to do continue. So a few things here when it comes to your personal information. Accuracy is very important, but we can only accurately put your information on your I-20 if that's what you submit. So when you're submitting your information, your name, date of birth, country of citizenship, country of birth, what major you want to make sure that all of them are listed correctly and that they're spelled correctly, because we want to make sure that all of your information is correct as well. So this is where this is going to be relevant. In just a second here, I'll tell you what you need to do if you want to change anything on your I-20. A few things here as well is your major. So if you are in like a pre-med course, or if you're in any of these pre-professional tracks, so pre-law, those are more supplemental academic paths are not considered a major. And so if you have those majors listed on your Form I-20 request, those will automatically be changed into either of these followings on the little table that you see here. So if you said you wanted to do pre-medicine or pre-pharmacy, for example, it's going to, for your I-20, it's going to be listed as biology or biological sciences. So this is something that you want to pay close attention to is, let's say you did come in as a pre-med, but then your I-20 says biology or biological sciences. Don't panic. It's just that we are not able to put pre-med down because again, it is a supplemental academic path. And your major is associated with the CIP code, and so we cannot edit that code. So that is something you're going to want to pay close attention to as well as you're submitting your I-20 request. We're going to scroll further down a little bit and head into your personal information. So first name, last name, this is where you want to make sure that all of your information is correct. You want to make sure your name is listed, spelled correctly, your last name is listed correctly. Your city of birth, country of birth, all of that is, listed correctly. This again is Stomper's page. So Stomper's born on 1868, so he's very old. But if any of your information needs to be changed, let's say your name is spelled wrong here, you're going to want to tell us right here. City of birth is another area that you want to pay attention to. You want to make sure whatever's on your passport is what's listed here. So just make sure you're looking at your passport, you have it ready with you before you go ahead and do this. All right, and then this is where your program information is going to show up if you said you're in IT. If you're interested in IT, it's probably going to show up here as computer science, but you want to make sure your program date is also correct here. If you had initially been accepted for fall 2024, but you weren't able to be here for fall 2024, and you come in here and it still says 2024 and not spring, you're going to want to defer your application before this gets updated. We serve like 2,000 applicants and admits, and so we're not able to just go in and just do change everybody's start date. And so you want to make sure that you are submitting the deferral request that needs to be submitted so that we can go in and update your request so they can get an updated I-20. So just make sure to check the program start date as well. And then the contact information. So once all of this looks fine and you've submitted any of the information that needs to be changed to us, you can go ahead and head on over to financial details. You are required to submit both your bank documentation and a financial sponsor letter. I will show you guys where the financial sponsor letter template is so that you can just download that and you'll see what I'm talking about. But your financial documents are reviewed before your I-20 is issued. If your documentation does not meet the financial documentation requirements that we have, we will not process your I-20. All of your sponsors have to submit a financial sponsor letter. If we don't have the sponsor letter, we will not process your I-20. So just make sure you're reading all of the information on here and making sure that you're not submitting your credit card or life insurance because those are not accepted as proof of funding. We only accept documentations that demonstrate finances that are immediately accessible. So you want to make sure that before you're even submitting an I-20 request, you have that information on hand ready with you to be submitted. There's some other criteria here about your financial and bank documents, obviously, so it must be dated and be less than 6 months old. This does not mean that we need 6 months worth of financial documentations because that's going to be a lot of documents to go through. However, it needs to be less than 6 months old for us to look over and process your I-20. You do have to make sure that you're meeting all of the criteria listed here. If it does not meet this criteria, we will not process your I-20. So please make sure that you go ahead and do that. Financial sponsor letters must be included with the signature from your financial sponsor, and the financial sponsor letter template is right here under criteria. So you can just download it, fill it, and submit it. That's the easiest way to go about this. And whatever funding what your sponsor is going to be funding you is going to show up in other fundings. So like PJ, and then the funding amount that's going to be listed here. We will not make changes to the funding amount that you submitted. So you want to make sure that you have the funds that we need for us to be able to issue that I-20 for you. So just make sure that you're reading through the criteria very carefully. If there is something on here that we're like, no, it's not working, we need something else, we will send you you will receive communication from us and your MAV mail. So you want to make sure you're also checking your MAV mail account frequently so that you don't miss any emails from us. And once your I-20 is processed, you'll also receive communication that it's there for you to download. So you want to make sure that you're checking your emails on time regularly. Once you do all of that, once you go over the criteria and all of the information listed here, you're going to want to upload your bank documents right here. So you can just click on it and then you can, submit your information. Very simple. And then you can also have your sponsor fill out the financial sponsor letter, also submit that here. And then you're going to get here, you're going to want to make sure that you've submitted everything. And as it says here, you will receive an email in your MAV mail when your I-20 is ready. So make sure you're checking your MAV mail periodically after you've submitted your I-20 request. And if your I-20 request cannot be submitted, we will send you communication saying, hey, we need this and this, or you need to update your information. Because I did not obviously submit all the documents that needed to be submitted here, I cannot see, it won't let me go ahead. But if you are submitting it and you have your information here, you'll see a submit button at the end at the corner here that you would click to submit your I-20 request. So yeah, this is basically a very quick overview of what the international portal kind of looks like and also how you would submit your I-20 request. I know that we have a few questions in the Q&A tab that I'll get to in just a second, but if you have any questions about the portal, please also leave that in the tab. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen really quickly so that I can get the other PowerPoint running. And also I want to double check and make sure that we don't have any questions on YouTube that I've missed. So let me go ahead and do that really quickly and also go on to the Q&A tab on our portal. Okay, so it looks like most of the questions is about the learning community. We will be doing a housing session soon. So if you've gone to our webinars calendar, you will have noticed that we will be having a housing session. That is going to be a great opportunity for you to learn more about learning communities. Sorry, my throat is so dry. It's so early. So all the other questions I'll be going to at the end of the session. We're gonna quickly segue into visa prep and all of the fun stuff. So let me go ahead and share my screen really quickly, and then we can start our visa prep. And again, at any point, if you have questions, please let me know. I can't see my screen once I start sharing, and so that's another caveat to doing this. Oh, and there we go. Okay. Alrighty, welcome Future Mavericks. So you've submitted your attorney request, you've gotten your I-20, what now? So we're gonna talk about how to pay for your CVIS I-901 fee, how to schedule your visa interview, and how to prepare for your visa interview. So we have a lot to cover in the next 30 or so minutes. So I'm going to get started. And again, if you have any questions, please leave it for me. I do see some questions, so I'll get to those. So let's start with how to find essential information in your Form I-20. Yay! So there are a few things on your Form I-20 that you're going to want to pay attention to. The first one being the CVIS ID that's circled up here. So the CVIS ID is essentially an ID number used by the US government to track your F1 immigration record when you're here in the US. So this is a number that's going to be very important. It's going to be a number that's going to basically say, oh, it's you. Another little tab that you want to make sure to look at is the school information. So you're attending Minnesota State University Mankato, that's what's going to be listed on here. And what you're going to want to need, when you schedule your visa appointment is your school code. Obviously, that's going to be listed on your I-20 when you receive it, so you don't have to memorize this, is what I'm trying to say. So just make sure that you know that those are two informations that you also want to pay close attention to. Other things to pay close attention to is the entirety of the Form I-20, of course. So making sure your name's written correctly, your country of citizenship, your financial documents, your sponsor information, your major. Just make sure you go over it, everything correctly, and make sure that everything looks correct to you. Once that's done, you are going to want to pay the CVIS I-901 fee. So this is something that you have to pay before you go to your visa interview or before you schedule your visa interview. And what this basically does is you're choosing the institution that you're choosing to go to and you're activating your I-20. This fee, the $350 payment, goes to the US government, and so it's valid for 12 months, for an entirety of a year. So let's say you weren't able to come on fall that you were supposed to, and you need to come in the spring, that would still remain valid. One thing that you want to make sure is you keep the receipt with you in a safe location. So after you've submitted it, just hit save and save it to your computer and keep it with you, because you want to keep it with you, just so you know that you've paid that $350. This is where all of that CVIS numbers and IDs are going to come in handy, because this, as you can see, your CVIS ID goes in there, your last name, your date of birth, and as it says, it needs to be as it appears on your Form I-20 or Form I-20. So you want to make sure that you have your correct information and you have the correct CVIS ID code to put in there. And I, again, highly recommend that you save it and keep it with you in a safe location. After you've paid the $350 payment, you can go ahead and schedule your visa interview. For your visa interview, you do have to fill out what's called the DS-160, or the online non-immigrant visa application. This is generally what it's going to look like if you've gone on the website. And you're going to want to hit start an application. We also have the link posted here, and you can take a screenshot of this page, or you can take a picture of this page for your sake if you would like. But you're going to want to head to this location here, and then you're going to want to start an application after you've selected the location that you are going to do the visa interview at. So you're going to want to select for a US embassy or consulate that is near you. I know that in some countries it's been very hard to get a visa appointment, and so depending on that, if there's another location nearby that people are going to, you're going to want to look at that here. And then for the visa interview, there is a $185 visa fee for each interview. So if you get your visa your first try, awesome. If not, you're going to have to pay that $185 fee again, second interview, and so on and so forth. So that's another thing that you want to pay attention to. When you're filling out your DS-160, this form right here, please note that it does take up to 90 minutes to complete, at least 90 minutes to complete. And so if you are going to be filling out your DS-160, you want to make sure you're setting aside about 90 minutes, at least at the minimum, to complete the DS-160. A few other recommendations I have for you is to prepare a photo for your DS-160. Before you even get to this page, go ahead and get a photo taken. The photo the requirements are very similar to what it would be like for a passport photo. And so if you had just recently made a passport, that you could still use that photo, but otherwise you want to make sure that you have that photo ready to go with you and make sure that they meet the requirements for the DS-160. So before you even start filling out the application, go ahead and prepare the photo for the DS-160. When you're filling out your DS-160 form, you're going to get to a point in the form itself where one of the questions is going to be US point of contact information. We get a lot of questions from students that say that, well, I don't know who to put in there. I don't know anybody. What do I do? This is the information you're going to want to list on there. So for the contact person, just choose do not know. So don't put a name there, but you're going to want to put everything else that's listed on here. So organization name, you're going to put Minnesota State University Mankato. Relationship to you will be school official. Our address is also listed on here, as well as our phone number and our email. So if there were, if there were any issues, they would know that they need to contact us at the university. And the reason why we say do not know as contact person is, let's say you do put me down. If I'm not in the office, I won't be able to help you. And so it's essential that you put do not know so that anybody in the office is able to help if there's anything that comes up. But for the US point of contact information, just make sure you put this down there. Alrighty. Again, like I had mentioned earlier, we're well aware that for some countries there's a long wait for an F1 interview. I know some countries are having like a 200 plus, wait time before you're even able to schedule an interview. And so the best thing to do in this situation would be after you pay the visa fee, and it'll take you to a page to select an appointment. Just make sure you select the earliest appointment available on there. You will have to select an appointment before you're able to submit an emergency request. So just make sure you go ahead and select whatever is the earliest available appointment that shows up for you on your screen as soon as you fill out the DS-160. And once that appointment has been selected, once you've selected an appointment date, you can go ahead and submit an emergency request and an expedited visa interview. Embassies and consulates will have different process or timelines to schedule an emergency request depending on where you're at. So just make sure you're also checking what the requirements are for the embassy or the consulate that's near you or the consulate that you're trying to go to. But you will have to select the appointment before you're even able to submit the emergency request. So just make sure you do that. I understand that it's a very frustrating process, and it can seem very overwhelming, but just know that I've been in your shoes before. I'm from Nepal and I had to go through a visa interview, and I remember how scary it was, but I made it, and I believe that you guys can too. So just believe in yourself, just take a few deep breaths and just know that it will be okay. Sometimes things take a little bit of time, but that's okay. Sometimes that just needs to happen. Okay. So what to bring to your visa interview? So once you've gotten your visa date and everything, what do you take? Usually what I recommend personally is to have like a little document file. That's what I did. It was very helpful because I knew where everything was and everything was in one sheet. So this is what I would recommend doing. So what you want to bring to your interview, your I-20, duh, your passport, the CVIS I-901 receipt that we talked about earlier, the $350 fee, print that out, bring it with you just in case. And then the visa application fee, which is the $185 visa interview fee that you paid, also bring that receipt with you. Photo for visa if you weren't able to upload it on your DS-160. Your admissions letter is going to be in a different dashboard. So if you recall, if you go back to when you submitted your application, and you got an admissions letter and you got a little link, that's where you're gonna wanna go and download that letter and print it. Bank statements or financial affidavit. So all of the financial documents that you submitted to the portal to us when you requested your I-20, also you can take that with you. I know that visa interviews can be very quick, like maybe 2-3 minutes at most. However, we recommend taking them with you just in case they do ask, you already have that with you. And you look prepared. And obviously your academic transcripts, English proficiency tests, if you take any, and documentation of ties to your home country. When I say documentation of ties to your home country, this could be a family business. This could be something within your family that you want to take over. That just proves to the interviewer that you are wanting to come back to your home country after you've gotten your degree. Because remember that your F1 visa is a non-immigrant visa, which means you're only here for the amount of time that you stated that you'll be here, which is to get your degree, and that you will go back to your home country after. And so if you have any strong ties to your home country through your family business or things like that, it's okay to take that with you, just in case they do ask. You already have that. You can say, hey, look, I am planning to come back home. These are some very helpful resources for you. If you go to this YouTube channel, Argo Visa, they have like a playlist, and you can go through that. They have some very helpful tips. NAFSA top 10 visa application, they also have a lot of tips and tricks on there. You can also choose to alternatively schedule a visa prep session with one of our current students here. The link is right here on the screen for you. You can go ahead and schedule a 30-minute visa prep session with one of our current students that works in the KIC. They're trained and they've also gone through the visa process. So you can schedule a time with them and they'll go over some more general questions that you might get asked, and they'll go over a little practice session with you. So if you are still worried about your visa interview, and you really want some practice, this would be a great way to go about it. So go ahead and take a screenshot of this little page if you want, but also remember that we're being live streamed on YouTube, so you can always go back to this after as well. Alrighty, it's the day of your interview. I am so proud of you for making it all the way through here and to your visa interview day. I remember my interview was very early. I think it was 8 a.m., something like that. And so we left home very early. So my mom came with me, obviously, and we went to the embassy very early. I think we got there almost 30 minutes early because we weren't sure how busy it was going to be, and it was busy. It was very early, as again, like I said, but it was very busy already. There was a line. And so, just make sure that depending on where you're going, just make sure you go early for your visa interview, because you never know. And sometimes even if you're prepared and you have everything ready to go, people ahead of you might not be, and they might just stall you and make you late. So it's always better to be early. These are some questions that you can practice. So why do you want to study in the US and at this university? So these are some questions that your consulate, the interviewer could potentially ask you. Some of the questions that I personally remember getting asked, again, my interview was, I think, 3 minutes at most. Not even 3 minutes, I think. It was very, very quick because it was a lot of people. So I remember that I was asked the first question for sure about why I wanted to study in the US and also at Minnesota State University Mankato. The biggest thing I would say is to be honest and truthful about why you're wanting to study here. So if you have friends at this university that recommended this, Minnesota State Mankato to you, bring that up. But also make sure that you're keeping your answers short, concise, and to the point. It doesn't need to be a long-winded answer where you're talking about everything and nothing in between. Stick to the question, stick to what they asked, and just answer that. Don't make it a long question. Be very direct. Leave it at that. But also be polite and nice, you know? What are your academic goals in the US? So you can talk about your major and why you chose your major, why that major is important to you, um, why you decided on that major, things like that. What are your professional goals after finishing your program? This is where you can talk about the ties to your home country. You can say, oh yeah, I want to learn more about software development and do some internships and then come back to my home country and start a company myself. Things like that, things of that nature, to where you can tie in your professional goals to your home country so they know that you will be returning to your home country. How will you pay for your education in the US? Talk about your sponsor, who your sponsor is, and then ties to your home country. I know that I've been saying this a lot today, but it is very important that you're able to talk about ties to your home country and why you will be returning home after you complete your education. So just make sure you're prepping for that as well. So these are some questions that I recommend definitely practicing. What I used to do is, because I didn't have anybody to do a visa prep with, what I personally did is recorded myself answering the questions, and then I would listen back to it. And that way I knew if I was using a lot of fillers, like it's very normal when you're nervous. So what I did was I just recorded myself answering these questions, listened back to the recordings, and I was like, oh, okay, I use this word a lot. I use fillers like a lot. So that helps when you're practicing, especially if you don't have anybody else to practice with, which is totally fine. That's what I did. But again, we do have the visa prep session. So if you are interested, I would recommend booking that. The day of your visa interview is here. I'm just gonna do all of that and then we're gonna go over it, I think. So during the day of your visa interview, you will go through a security checkpoint. No phones or technology are allowed with you during your appointment, so don't bring your laptop and stuff if you don't have to. When you go in through the main doors and you go through security checkpoint, they give you a little box. At least for me, they did that. They give you a little box, like a little container that you put all of your items in, so your bag, um, your phones and things like that, because you can't take them with you. The only thing you can take is your documents, which is why it's important to have everything in one little folder. So it's easy for you. You can just take it out of your bag and go, okay, this is all I need. Um, so just make sure you don't need to bring your laptops and stuff. It's just bulky, it takes up space, it's heavy. Don't bring them if you don't have to. Like I said earlier, arrive early. In America, they say that if you're 15 minutes early, you're on time, and if you're on time, you're already late. So that's something that you're gonna want to think about, is to make sure you're there early. Like I told you about my own personal experience, I got there about 30 minutes early, but that's just because I am an anxious person and I tend to overthink and I overplan. And so I just like to be early. So just make sure that you're still getting there early to give sufficient time. And again, like I said earlier, if the person in front of you has issues and then you get stalled and are in line longer than you needed to, at least you have that buffer time in between. Dress for success. Don't wear shirts with holes in them. Don't wear shredded jeans, things like that. You want to dress a little conservative, I want to say. So for guys, you can just wear a dress shirt and jeans. Those look nice. Same for so just want to make sure, and if you're wearing a shirt, just make sure it's ironed and that it looks neat. That's very important. Make sure you look well groomed, you have your hair done. Um, just make sure you have your hair done. Just look like you took the time to get ready, but I'm also not saying cake on makeup and go the 9 yards. Just look like you're ready for success. And remember your documents. These are very important. Eat a good meal beforehand. I am not a breakfast person, so I have a hard time with this. But if you can, just have something in the morning before you go or whenever your appointment is. Just make sure you're having a little something before you head out. Just so even if you're there for a few hours or several hours, you're not starving because that does affect your ability to focus and think straight. And so it's good. It's good practice to just eat a little bit of food before you go for your appointment. They will usually have a water fountain station there. So, with water and stuff, that's good, but they won't have food in there. So just make sure you're eating. The interview is usually a stand-up window. So they have a window and the interview is on the other side and you're on this side. And the consular officer will ask if they need documents, they'll ask you, and then you just kind of slide it under like the little window. There's a little divot. Um, But again, like I said, it's very quick. You also want to make sure that you're speaking loud and clear for them to hear you. Because of the glass window, sometimes you have to speak a little bit louder. And so if you're someone who has a fairly softer voice, you want to make sure you're speaking loud and clear for them to be able to hear you. Because you also don't want them to be straining and being like, what do you mean? Say that again. Just make sure you're speaking loud, but also not screaming. And finally, my final tip for you is to relax. Visa interviews are typically only 2 to 3 minutes in length. So just remember to be calm and be concise and try whatever the question is. Just make sure you're very direct and answer exactly what's asked and not more than that and not less than that. All right, that is most of what my recommendations and my suggestions for you as you prep for the day of your visa interview. Again, like I said earlier, I know it's nerve-wracking. I was very nervous. I was very scared but I also went into it being like, I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna answer what I need to answer and we'll see what happens kind of mentality. That's how I went in. And I just answered what they asked of me. I was very pretty concise with my answers, and I also tried to be as polite as I could be. And my consular officer, she was pretty nice. She was a little scary, but she was nice. So just remember that the visa interviews are usually only 2 to 3 minutes. They're going to go by really fast. So make sure you are practicing these questions because these are questions that you're likely going to get asked, and also making sure that you take a deep breath and tell yourself that it's going to be okay because it is going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Just take a few breathers. And I am very excited to meet you guys in the spring. If you're coming here for the spring, I'm so excited to meet you guys. Everyone in the office is excited to meet you guys. We're so happy that you chose our university. And we are so excited to see you for spring 2025 orientation. Please, a few things to remember though is attendance is mandatory. Spring 2025 orientation is going to be from January 6th through the 10th, 2025. You must arrive on or before January 5th. And the first day you may enter the US is December 7th, 2024. So these are dates you are going to want to keep in mind. A few things as well, like I had mentioned earlier, we will have other webinars such as traveling to Mankato, housing, how to find housing, and things to know before you travel to Mankato. So please sign up for these sessions. These are going to be very helpful, especially for students that are coming in the spring. You will be coming in the winter time. So we want to make sure that you're prepared for the winter, for the snow, and that you've packed enough clothes for yourself. So we are so excited to meet you, but remember these dates, January 6th through the 10th, attendance is mandatory. We do send out communications as well. So make sure you're checking your emails for information on orientation, on webinars, and all of the other fun stuff as well. Orientation peer mentors are waiting for you during spring or whenever you're attending. Our orientation peer mentors are international students like yourself, and they will be here to guide you throughout the orientation process. They'll take you to wherever you need to go for your placement testing, your check-ins. They are integral to our orientation, as these are students that you can ask questions to as their current students here. So remember, you will have a great support system waiting for you to navigate, to help you navigate our university and US education culture. One more thing though, I think I had one more thing I wanted to say, but I lost my train of thought. It'll come to me. But yes, we also, oh, I remember now. We also do post a lot of content about arriving to Mankato or things to know about Mankato on our social media platforms. And if you want to follow us on our social media, I will list our Instagram in the chat. I highly recommend it because we have a group of social media staff that does our videos, and they're very good about doing videos for incoming students and also current students. And you're also able to see how life is like in Mankato, which is really nice to get you prepped before you come here. While I do that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I know that we have a lot of questions that I want to get to. So give me a moment here. You guys have a lot of good questions, I think. I'm also going to check YouTube really quickly. Alrighty. Well, I didn't know my hair looked this terrible this morning. Sorry. All right. Okay. So I see a lot of questions for learning communities. Like I said earlier, we will be hosting a housing session. I highly recommend that you join us there because we will be talking about learning communities in more detail as they pertain more to housing. However, just to quickly, I don't know what that was, sorry. I think someone sneezed, but learning communities essentially is a community of students that live in housing on campus that are the same program. So one floor is all nursing students, one floor could be all like biological sciences, which is awesome because you're going to be in classes with those people most likely, and you're also going to be living in the dorms with them, which is really nice. If you guys have, okay, I know somebody had questions about their I20 and that they needed to rectify it. I want to make sure that you send it to the right email address. I'm gonna leave our email in the chat as well, so all of you guys can have that as well. Khalid, you said that you're also trying to get the mock visa prep session. They should be live now. Let me go ahead and double check that for you today. If you want to try booking it tomorrow, let me know so that we can go ahead and get that situated for you. Because again, we do want you guys to be able to utilize the visa prep sessions. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on my agenda today. They should be available, but they're also limited availability for the visa preps. So there's only 2 sessions each week that you can book right now, just at the moment. All housing questions. So this student asked, can you tell me I will get a particular week to choose room type or on the same day itself? So you will be able to, if you're living in the dorms, they do go by, depending on when you applied, they will let you know if you're able to select the room type that you want. So just keep an eye out on an email from them on that. Somebody asked if they can wear a white t-shirt, jeans, and Air Force shoes when going to an interview. I think that's an okay outfit, I would say. That's okay, as long as like it's just a regular pair of jeans. And just make sure your white shirt is ironed and it's not wrinkly. I think that's a good outfit, yep. That'll be okay. Somebody else asked, how do you suggest a dress, please? I remember wearing, I think I just wore like a plain t-shirt as well. So like the first person that asked that question, I wore something very similar. I wore a very basic plain t-shirt, didn't have letterings on it, and then I just wore jeans and Converse. That's what I wore. I just dressed pretty casual, but also like I made sure like I was not it was like clean. All right, Khalid, let me go ahead and put that booking information for you in the chat so that you have it. Somebody asked if they arrive before January 5th, will I need to pay extra fees if I will be living on campus per day? Yes, depending on their availability, you're most likely going to have to pay them an extra fee every day. For that, I would reach out to Residential Life directly because I do not have the numbers off the top of my head, and I also don't know what the availability would look like in January. Um, so please reach out to Residential Life. Just make sure that you're able to confirm with them that they will have a place for you to live in. Because I'm not sure. Because otherwise, you're going to have to stay in a hotel. We do have a hotel pretty close to the university that you could choose to stay at. But again, you're going to have to budget accordingly. So, and Stella, I know that you had sent out emails. Please go ahead and send another email, and I will let our staff know to check that really quickly for you. Somebody asked how many months does it take for bank statements to be expired when going for a visa interview? I think as long as they're less than 6 months old, they're okay, but if you can get like the most recent one, that'd be best. These are really good questions. Are there extra courses in a learning community? I am not 100% sure. There might be. I know that they do have learning community sessions where they all study together and things like that. But again, for that, I think I do recommend that you join us for our housing session so that we can spend more time on it. Okay, I think these are all great questions. And you guys have a lot of great questions for sure. I'm gonna go ahead and find the link for I need to sneeze. Excuse me. I'm gonna go ahead and find the listing for the booking really quickly, and then I can leave that down here for you. Just give me one moment here. Where are you guys watching from though? I've been curious. I wanted to ask earlier, but um I just forgot to. Okay, let me calendar services, visa prep. Okay, so it does look like you can go ahead and select that. We do have an upcoming visa prep session on the 1st, which is tomorrow. So you can book for that if you'd like. Um, and then if you guys don't have any more questions, I'm checking YouTube really quickly. Spider-Man. That's a cool username. How much time does it take to review application? So we would say about 14 days. And again, if you have any other questions, I'm gonna leave the email in the chat here as well, so you have it. It also really depends on how many applicants we have. If you're talking about for spring, it's already closed, so it would be for fall most likely. All right, if you guys don't have any more questions, okay, Bangladesh, Gambia, Kenya, that's awesome. We have so many people from so many countries. That's so cool. I am very excited to meet all of you guys. And then Stella, yes, I'm gonna leave my email in the chat here as well. So you can email me. If you'd like, Stella. Yes, so hello everybody. It was really nice to meet you guys. It's really early for me, so I'm still kind of waking up. But we do have another session coming up next week. We have a housing session coming up. We have a lot of sessions coming up, basically. I would highly recommend also watching the travel to Mankato session because that will help you prep for traveling to Mankato and you'll know all the nitty-gritty stuff that you need to know. So just go ahead and book those, register for those, and I will see you guys. India, okay. India, Kenya, Gambia, Bangladesh. We have a lot of countries here. That's very exciting. Um, yeah, it was very nice to meet you guys. I hope I was able to answer most of your questions, but like I said, we will continue to have a lot of these sessions as well as we gear up for spring 2025. And I am here if you need any assistance with anything. My email's in the chat, as well as the booking for the visa prep session. So go ahead and book that if you'd like. And if you have any other questions, you can email our international@mnsu.edu email. But we are so excited to see you in the spring, and I'm also excited to see you guys in our next sessions if you guys will be there. So thank you so much for joining today and have a great day.